y'all to the VRNation Station. We're diving deep into vacation
Folks,
rentals.
welcome back to another episode of VRNation Station, your short-term rental podcast. It's Jamie Hansen facilitating once again, my good friend Blake behind the tee, and we're here to talk a little bit about the VRNation Conference. Exciting as it is, we're here in Austin, Texas. Love this town. And what we're going to do is a little bit different than normal. Instead of having the Brady Bunch effect of multiple people, what we're going to do is we're going to take people who are at the conference and bring them in and just ask them what their thoughts are, right? So VRNation, we partner with our people that are coming, our members. They are the best source of ideas and the best source of feedback. So this episode is dedicated to them. Now remember, if you like the podcast, please hit follow or subscribe, and you'll see all the new podcasts that are going to be coming out. So let's get going. Hey everybody, so one of my first interviews for people who are attending the conference is my new friend Rachel. Rachel's going to introduce herself, talk a little bit about her business, where she's from, and the cool thing about Rachel, it's her first conference ever, which is cool. So I'm loving to hear it, and then I have some questions for you. So go ahead and just introduce yourself to the camera, and then we'll just chat.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Rachel DeSantis. I am the co-founder of QR Clue. We have created a way for a host to turn their rental property into an escape room experience for their guests. From Michigan, and yeah, this is my first conference in the space, so
that's cool. I am not necessarily an old veteran of conferences. I've been in this profession for about 4 years now, or 3 years now, so I've been to quite a few. What do you think?
It's really cool. I think that it's really, the one thing that struck me the most is the organization. So I think that it's really well done. Everything is just between the VRNation team and the Marriott here. I just think that it's just been handled really, really professionally, and just everything is just quality. That struck me first, was like the production value of what this experience is like.
Yeah, that is, it's funny. I think sometimes when you go to a lot of conferences, it's like people that go to short-term rentals, right? Like if you've never been to a short-term rental, it's kind of hard to screw them up, right? Because it's a new expectation, and they're all like, wow, this is really cool. Right. Somebody who goes to short-term rentals all the time, they're just doing the old white glove test,
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's fun to hear people who are really, they point out some of the things that I just take for granted. So you're absolutely right. I was just over watching our keynote speaker, and wow, it's just as I sat there looking at the production, how it was set up, the stage, the seating, and there wasn't a bad seat in the house. Those are the kind of the cool things. So that's good to call that out. So if you had to say what you had here that maybe you didn't have, what would it be?
More time. Because as an exhibitor, I would love to be able to see all these speakers, and I know that there's so many nuggets and so many things being talked about that I'm interested in, especially being involved in this space. And so I wish there was a way that I could kind of be in two places at once, which is not possible, but right. I wish there was more time to kind of sneak away and see some of that.
Yep.
Maybe in the future we'll have help.
Yeah, it's
sneak away.
It's interesting because sometimes so when you get to know vendors, right, and people that have been at conferences in the past, you do learn some tips. Like, so for example, if I was going to be at a booth, I would just make sure that we have multiple people at the booth, and then we just rotate out. So if we go through the game plan out of the gate, what classes look interesting, what do I want to see, and then we just trade off and make sure that everybody can get out. Because the other cool thing about being a vendor is you get to just kind of meet up and talk with people randomly. Just out of the blue, you bump into them, you just start a conversation, and the next thing you know, you're handing business cards, and it's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So I guess lastly, are you going to be back next year?
Yeah.
All right.
For sure. Definitely.
Awesome.
I would definitely, recommend it and come back for sure.
Okay. Let me ask you just one other question, and it's really, if you had to say the thing that really jumped out at you the most about this conference, what would be the one thing that really stood out to you?
How friendly everyone is and how approachable everyone is. So with it being our first conference, you just never know what to expect. You don't know how people are gonna receive you. You don't know how people are gonna react to what you're offering, and then you don't know what you're gonna learn and find out about others. So going into this, we really had no expectation of really even being talked to, because we're new.
Right.
And I know how sometimes there can be groups that form within industries, and it's kind of like we felt like kind of like this outsider, almost like the redhead stepchild type situation.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we just thought, you know what, no expectation. I don't expect anyone to get excited or to care about what we're doing. But that's the one thing that struck me the most, is everyone is genuinely kind and really interested to learn more about what we're doing. And then it's been really cool to see what all the other vendors and all the other people are doing in the industry.
Right.
So in this literal 2 days that we've been here, we've learned so much. And that's the beauty of, I think, these type of events, is because you just don't know what you don't know, and you never know everything, and you're always learning. And it's been such a really, just a great experience to be so well received, and to everyone's just been so nice. And I think that really kind of shocked me. I kind of had this weird expectation that like we were going to be like just ignored, which is probably silly, but
no, it is. It's. I think it's a natural concern for people, and it is true. We are the friendliest conference. I don't know how best to state that. It's not that other conferences are not, but it's almost like people are here almost kind of like a little break. And it's the part that I enjoy the most is I learn something new from everybody I talk to. And the reason that I think people are so friendly is that's kind of the common theme. And so you wind up bumping into somebody. They want to know where you're from. They want to know what your business is. They'll look up your site. They'll want to know more about the information that you have. They'll say, well, wow, that was kind of unique. Why did you choose that? And people share. There's a term that was used by my friend Jody Clear, and she had done a presentation about homeowner acquisition, and she talked about co-opetition, which is a word that I've heard many times in different industries, but from a short-term rental situation, co-opetition is really what VRNation is about. It's about helping each other get better, because the tide rises all boats.
True.
And it's just like, nobody wants to be left out on the island, and we don't want to leave anybody behind, because if you do well,
right,
I do well. And I think that's just the overall feeling of the conference. So that's it. I'm gonna let you go back to your booth. I appreciate you jumping on the podcast, and we'll check back in with everybody here in a little bit.
Cool.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm going to introduce you to my new friend, Tim. We had just met not too long ago, but Tim is a property manager for short-term rentals down in Florida. Why don't you go ahead and tell the folks about yourself, who you are, what your business is.
Tim Smith with Costago New Smyrna Beach, which is the Daytona Beach area as well. In Florida, we manage about 50 properties for the last 5 years in business now.
Excellent. So here we are in Austin, Texas. It was a little bit of a shell shock for me coming down from Wisconsin when I stepped into the heat. I'm sure for you it probably wasn't that dramatic, which is good. What do you think of the conference? What do you think of being in Austin? Is it everything you thought it was going to be when you signed up?
I think it is. I was really looking forward to a smaller type of conference. I get more out of those when you have time to actually talk to the person next to you, or get one-on-one time with vendors and others that you're trying to reach.
No, that's a good point. So I've only been in the industry for this is my third year, and I've been to 5-6 conferences so far. The VRNation, which used to be NWVRP, the one thing that I've always found unique about it is just the interactions with people. Do you feel it's any different than any of the other conferences you've been at, or does it feel along the same lines?
It's along the same lines of the conferences I enjoy going to. Some of the other ones that you kind of have to be at and make a face or have a presence, it's just a lot. Nobody really has time because they got to get to the next thing. There's too many. There's a lot of sessions, there's a lot of things going on, there's a lot of vendors. And whereas a smaller conference like this, if you connect with someone, you really can take the time to sit with them.
Awesome, that's terrific. So some of the canned questions I have is anything at the conference that really jumped out at you that you said, wow, like that made it worth it? Like any topics or speakers or I don't know, you name it.
I'm sure so far it's been we use AI all the time, but apparently we weren't using it in the best structure. So that session was fantastic. Now we can put a structure together. I can pass that along to the team to actually do it instead of me having to do every one of them. There's been some folks that have been in situations that we're about to enter into. rapid growth, and so just being able to pick their brain. So some of that, outside the sessions, but
Sure.
having that one-on-one time. Vendor-wise, there's been one or two things that are new, which sometimes doesn't happen,
Right.
year to year, and so it's great to see some new options.
That's good. No, that's terrific. That's a good call out. I've been kind of wandering about, Bumblebee fashion, but it is neat because to me, it's almost like now that I'm at enough conferences and I know a lot of the vendors, so I'm just kind of shooting the breeze with friends. But yeah, you're right. I saw the one thing that I caught was there are more property management system vendors here this year than I've seen at previous years, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing. So, I mean, ultimately, if you had to say what maybe VRNation could add to the flavor to make it even better for next year, you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, wow. Didn't prep me for that one.
No. We're shooting from the hip.
I'm not sure 2 days is enough.
Okay.
Possibly an opening on the night, the night before the full day might be good, because then you actually get the time to see who's here, who's there, and maybe plan out your sessions a bit better, or plan out how you want to spend your time.
No, that's actually a really great call out. That's actually the second time I've heard it too, is to make it longer. Well, excellent. I mean, anything else you want to add about the VRNation? If you had to sell it to another PM, what would you tell them?
I actually have already a couple I've talked to about. It is the more focused on us than some others might be. It is that smaller atmosphere, and you actually can take the time. Like I said, you don't walk in and you're overwhelmed and just, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? First conference I ever attended was a small one about this size.
Okay.
And so I already felt comfortable. And then I've been to all the big ones, this industry and others, and it's a lot. So I tell them you're going to gain the information that you need from somebody, maybe a session, maybe the person next to you, but you're going to get it.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I'm not going to keep you on. We have another class coming up here. But thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you joining us.
Certainly.
And folks, stick around. We'll have another awesome guest coming in soon. So thanks for joining us, and stay tuned. All right. Hey, folks, we're back again. It was interesting. I was sitting through this and I was thinking, man, I've talked to some vendors. I've talked to some property managers, some owners. And then last night, I went out with some friends. My friend Brianna, for example, who is not an owner, she's an operations manager. And what I thought to myself was, it'd be a really great perspective to understand somebody who's maybe not an owner and why they like the conference. So maybe if you want to introduce yourself to the folks, and then, we'll just chat.
Sounds good. Well, I am Brianna, and I am from Santa Cruz, California, and I work for Beach Nest Vacation Rentals. So here I am.
Here you are.
Here I am.
Here you are. So I met you, I want to say it was last year in Boise.
Yep.
Yeah, and so we were part of the Rowdy crew, and it was really, really interesting. Because like I always tell people, whenever I come to these conferences, I talk to everybody, right? That's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now.
Right.
But I still remember just asking and learning, and it's so interesting because Cabino is in the mountains, right?
Yeah.
Idaho. And just between talking with you and with John, understanding some of the differences in the operational just hurdles that you guys face on a day-to-day,
Yeah.
those are the kind of conversations that really stick with me through the conference. So I gotta ask though, right? So the second conference that I've been with you at, what do you get out of these conferences from an operational management perspective? Why? What gets you here?
Well, I think for the most part, it's kind of finding that breakout session that actually I think would resonate with me, because a lot of them are more, like you said, geared towards owners.
Yep.
Or so for me, I just kind of go through the list, and to my surprise, there's actually a lot of breakout sessions that do work and resonate with me. And I think for the most part, learning about, yesterday I went to the most amazing ChatGPT session that was basically a breakdown of all of our properties, how to describe your property, and that's what I do. So I think for the most part it is really just kind of digging into the breakout sessions and seeing what I would find that would work for me.
So I'm bummed, dude. I did not go to that session, and now I'm kicking myself. You are the third person to tell me about that session, and I'm
It was
like,
incredible.
oh man, I wish I'd gone to that. Shoot.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have to pick your brain then. So now you're the expert in the room, and I'm going to be calling you because I'm not the strength in our group anyway when it comes to using ChatGPT. So really, I mean, the next question I was going to ask you is like, there anything that really jumped out at you this year so far versus last year? And it sounds like the ChatGPT session was pretty good. Is there anything else that you thought was like really clicked?
Actually this year I think that was probably the one that I've kind of, all the other ones seemed pretty geared towards owners and stuff, and sometimes they're still interesting to go into, so I can get a perspective of where Liz and John are necessarily coming from or what they deal with on their end of things. But I think last year versus this year, to be honest, I don't remember much last year. I can't.
We don't need to revisit a lot.
Right.
I get it.
But for the most part, there's like 1 or 2 breakout sessions for the 2 days that we're here that I do really enjoy going to or looking into. I remember last year there was one about pets and like bringing pets and how industry is like, most of your property should be pet friendly, because if they're not, people are going to bring their pets regardless. So that was an interesting one, but there are stuff for, staff here. I didn't really, when I first started coming, I'm like, why am I here?
Right.
But the more years went on, I started to realize that there is kind of quite a bit. You just have to find it.
Right. You want to take a look. Did you do any pre-work? Like, did you look at the courses before you came, just kind of pick through to see what you want to go to?
Yeah, I kind of do that a couple days before I get here, just to have an idea so I can maybe schedule around them. But I did that, and really the ChatGPT one, I was like, I have to go to that. And the room was packed. So,
wow. I hope they recorded. I don't know if they did, but man, I didn't have to jump in on that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so awesome. Well, here, this is the one thing that I always pitch to people, because I made promises to get folks onto the podcast, and I'm not going to keep them here for an hour because we actually are having a class session right now that we're not at. However, if you got to sell this conference to another person, an operations manager, a staff member, what would you tell them?
Well, for starters, I think how everyone just easily gets along. You can come in here, you don't feel out of place. You can walk in here and everyone makes you feel at home. And even though there are vendors, people get really like weary about that. They're like, I don't want people always coming up to me and trying to sell me. It's not like that. People are they want to talk to you, they want to get to know you and make sure that a product will work for you, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. And but they still will continue to be your friend and hang out with you and shoot the shit. So I think for the most part, this conference, when I explain it to people, I'm like, it's just a fun place to go. You meet new people, you meet new friends, you learn new things about the industry that you never knew before.
Right.
And it's just a nice way to network with people. But also networking is kind of a scary word because it seems so business forward, but it's not like that. It's like friendly, fun, and go out, get food, have cocktails, and then go back to work.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. The thing, that is one of the things I do actually when I tell people about the VRNation Conference is, man, bring business cards. It's not a salesy thing. It's because everybody, like, I think I met, and I'm not even going to stretch this, I bet I met 25 new people yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. Like, my brain resonates with maybe 2.
Right.
And it's like, if I don't have business cards and swap them out, like, and I take the business card, I write down, like, this was the topic of the conversation.
Yeah.
And then that way I can follow up with them after the case. Hey, man, it was really nice meeting you at the conference. Just reaching out to stay in the network or get on LinkedIn and connect with them as well.
Right.
So, yeah, that's, it's funny because now you are the 4th, I think you're the 4th guest that we've had for this podcast in a bit. All 4 of them said the exact same thing. Everybody's approachable. Everybody's friendly. It's almost like a reunion when you show up to the VRNation Conference.
Yeah,
so.
It feels good. It feels like home. That's
good. That's a good call out. Well, hey, Brianna, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. We're going to jump out and go back to class. Thank you very much.
Sounds good.
All
Thank
right,
you
folks.
for having me.
We're going to cut out. Thank you very much, and we will talk to you again soon. Well, awesome. All right, you guys. Hey, we are back again. I have another new friend, Haley. It's terrific that she is going to tell a little bit about her experience, which is absolutely what we're looking for. So Haley, maybe introduce yourself to the folks and just tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Haley. I'm a 22-year-old independent host. I've been in the industry for about 2 years now, and I'm just trying to be a learning sponge and get as much knowledge as possible. And yeah, my company is CMH B&B, and I'm based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Wow, awesome. 22 years old, and you are a property management owner. That's incredible.
Thank you.
That's a lot, man. That's good for you. That is impressive. I'm thoroughly impressed. Well, so you have a very unique perspective, right? One, because most of the people around here are like Blake and my age, which is we turn to dust after midnight. But it's just one of those things where it's like I'm really interested, in your opinion. Like, what do you think of VRNation? Like, how's the conference been from your viewpoint?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's been really fun. I think the energy. I'm a very big how do I feel when I enter the room?
Yep.
I know they can always be a little intimidating at first, especially the first day, but the energy is great. The people are amazing. Everyone is excited to talk. Everyone's excited to be here, and I think that's huge. Sometimes you walk in and it's just like, you bought a ticket to come.
Right.
Why do you look like you don't want to be here? So I think that's huge, and that's one of the biggest things I notice is, wow, I feel good here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So there's a theme. So we've had, I think you would be the 4th or 5th person that we've interviewed. And the theme really is just the feel, right? And it's really exciting to hear that, because I mean, for me, now I'm making an assumption, but have you been to many conferences, or is this your first?
I've been to about 5.
Oh, okay.
Couple different styles, different audiences. But yeah, I mean, it's just the feel.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain it. It's just
But you don't have
feeling.
to. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody, I think, understands. I understand. I understand.
You feel it.
Right? Of course. But if I had to compare it, how does it fit with other conferences? I mean, do other conferences just have a different flavor, or is it more the feel is worth it, and the lessons you learn are worth coming?
No, it's I will be coming again. Hopefully, you guys continue to host the international ones. But yeah, no, I think it's a good mix of everything. I think the people, I've talked to a lot of different types of people too. You might be a property manager, but you might operate on a different skill than someone else, and both bring something unique to the table. And also talking to the vendors has been really fun as well. I think it's a safe space to talk to them as well, because as someone using these softwares, I want to know who's running it.
Right.
And I feel like I've had more of a chance to actually talk and get a personalized experience with the vendors compared to other events where there's I feel like maybe not as personable.
Sure.
So I've enjoyed that aspect as well.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. So I guess if I think through the format of the conference, was there anything that just jumped at you that you had attended, either a class or an event or something that occurred that just kind of brings to mind that feeling like you're talking about? Is there anything that really jumped off the charts for you?
I personally loved the round table.
Okay.
That was my first time ever doing one. I was a little nervous to do it, but it was great conversation. Everyone had something to put in, and I think there was a couple tables that had a moderator, is that what you would call it?
Yep.
Kind of guiding the conversations. They were amazing. It again felt safe that I could voice my opinion, even if it was different from someone sitting across from me. And also I think the MCs, Jason has been killing it. He just brings the energy to where you feel like you can be excited. I feel like sometimes people are embarrassed to be excited about things.
Yes, right, or happy.
They don't want to raise their hand. No, I'm yes, yeah.
Right, it's this is a
yeah,
pyramid scheme.
yeah.
Right?
I feel like I can lean into the happiness, kind of.
Exactly. No, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, the energy. It's funny the way you said it. Everybody says things just a little bit differently, but I can feel it. I can feel it from you. And that's exciting.
Yes.
For me, I'm an older guy, and it's just sometimes the long days they wear you down, but all of a sudden then I have a conversation with someone like you, and I'm like, man,
I'm ready to go.
Look at the energy. It's it gives me energy, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So it's great. I'm so happy that you've come.
I'm energized because of the event.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. That's perfect. So again, I think when I look at it, clearly your plan is to come back next year, which we are. We're going to be in Denver, right, Blake?
Ooh.
Denver. Yep, we're going to be in Denver.
So that's going to be a blast. I think it's roughly the same time frame.
Perfect.
If you had to say, you know, Jamie, there's something that you guys really should add to this, what do you think it would be? Like, if you could say, you know, one thing that would be really cool, that would be cool.
2 things.
Sure.
First one being, I think having a networking event before the event starts would be kind of cool.
Okay.
I know some of the other events I've been to have kind of done like an opening. It's like a soft welcome.
Right.
Like,
Opening
hey,
ceremony.
you're gonna be
yeah.
there tomorrow. Especially for people who come alone, I know it can be very, very intimidating.
Right.
So I think hopping straight into a full first day could be kind of scary. And then second, adding another day or 2.
Yeah.
Like, let's just keep it going.
Okay,
2 days is
so
not enough. Like,
there are themes
yeah,
that I'm
I'm
catching.
feeling a little like rushed. Like, hey, I want to keep hanging out and like learning and going to different sessions.
Yes,
so yeah.
I think there's that energy that you're bringing.
Yeah.
Because I know a couple people are like, oh God, I'm so tired. No, that's terrific. Well,
Yeah.
hey, I'm not going to keep you. I know you actually are going to be presenting, so
Yes.
thank you very much for
Of course.
joining. What are you presenting?
I'll be talking about remote excellence. So I've built a fully remote team with tech and teams.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to come and watch.
should.
I will, for sure. Well, excellent. Well, I'll tell you what, thank you again for joining. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
It's wonderful meeting you.
Likewise.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Bye.
All right, everybody.
See you next year.
Welcome y'all to the VRNation Station. We're diving deep into vacation rental sensations. From management tips to the latest creation, join us each week for some sparkle and conversation. VRNation Station, tune in.